this paper, as Laura said, is on paper.
Negative bias.
Yeah. I will try to be as entertaining as I can. This paper is done work with Gloria, Finotto, and Fabiana. Gloria is here in the room, and this is indeed a development of her master thesis, still ongoing. So every comment is very appreciated. Oh, okay. First of all, I don't know if any of you, I think more or less every one of you knows what the European Capital of Culture program is. Anyway, it is a program that designs a city, and the city is designed by designated by the European Union each year for 1 year, and during this year, each of the city has to organize a series of cultural events that aim to be a way to foster the European culture in general. The selection starts 6 years before the year in which the city is designated. So, for example, for Italy, we had Matera this year, 2019. So the selection process started in 2013, and 6 years before the beginning, each member states that have been selected by the European Union have to publish a call for application, and each city of the country can apply for the call. How they apply? They first of all propose a series of events as a small program, and the application and then reviewed by a series of experts, both from the country and Europe in general, and they are all from the field of culture, clearly. And then a shortlist is produced, and the shortlisted cities has to create a more detailed program that is called a dossier, and is more or less 100 pages long. For example, for Italy, the 6 shortlisted cities were Matera, Ravenna, Lecce, Perugia, Cagliari, and Siena. The dossiers are then evaluated by another group of experts that decide what will be the European city of capital of culture. Oops. Here's a map. I don't know if you can see anything of all the cities since the beginning of the program. In Italy we had Florence, Bologna, Genoa, and Matera, and as you can see, more or less they are in the whole European Union. But how we link this with sustainability, because our main focus is sustainability. In general, sustainability has this triple bottom line approach. This started in the 90s, and divide the sustainability into 3 big pillars. One is related to social sustainability, the sustainability that is linked to people. Another one that is linked to ecologic, or that is linked to environment, and the last one is linked to economic sustainability, so the profit or firms and all the economic activity in the area. In the last year, a 4th pillar came out, and it was called the cultural pillar, or pillar of culture. But at the end of the day, the culture is more likely to affect the other pillars. So it's no more culture as a 4th pillar, but culture as a pillar that contains the other three pillars. This is more or less the transformation as it's gone in the literature. So we have the culture that contains all the other 3 pillars. So we ask ourselves, okay, the European Capital of Culture may be in some way related to sustainability. How it is related to sustainability? And so we first of all started from the dossier. We have the dossier in which the representative of each of the cities, of the shortlisted cities, wrote down what would be their action for the European Capital of Culture program if they win it. Okay, so we have two main assumptions. The first one is that the content of the dossier, referring to a certain topic, work as a measure of the interest the writers attach to that topic. In the sense that if I write something on the dossier as a promise of what I would like to do if I become the European Capital of Culture, then it means that in some way I weight that kind of topic and I want to develop it. And the second assumption is, given assumption 1, the relative frequency of words, of a set of words, measures the importance that writers give to that word. In the sense that if a certain word refers to, say, economic sustainability, then it means that the writers of the dossier care about economic sustainability if the frequency of that word is higher. Okay? Given this assumption, we developed four hypotheses related to how the European Capital of Culture are chosen. Okay? The first one is that the selection of the European Capital of Culture is based on the importance given to economic sustainability. The second is about social sustainability, and the third is about ecological sustainability. And then we have also general sustainability, because some of the words we found couldn't fit in any of the three pillars, but was something more general. Okay, about the empirical analysis, we just the corpus of our analysis consists in the 6 dossiers, the shortlisted cities, as I said, Ravenna, Perugia, Lecce, Cagliari, Siena, and Matera, and each of which is more or less 100 pages and contains information about the city and the program and all the events that they want to do. Okay, we used the Italian version of the dossier, and it was not so easy to obtain some of them, maybe because we started this work like last year and the dossier were made in 2016, and at least 3 cities removed all the dossier from anywhere in the web, so it was quite difficult. In fact, 3 out of 6 of the dossier were found on the web, on the official sites. 1 out of 6 were found on a repository that was not the official one, and it was an image version, so we will see that it could be a problem. And then the other 2 were asked directly to the municipalities. 1 were given in an encoded version, and 1 was given in a really badly encoded version. And this is a problem if you have to do text analysis, because you have to make the computer read the words. If the words are written in a bad way or are written in a wrong way, the computer is not able to read it. So we take the image version and the badly encoded version, and we OCR that in the sense that we make the computer transform the images in words, and then we analyze the words. This clearly add a little bit of distortion, because the computer is not completely it's not perfect in reading images, but this is like, say, a 95-96% of accuracy, so let's say that it's okay for us. We use a dictionary-based text analysis approach in the construction of the measures of sustainability. What is dictionary-based text analysis? Text analysis is the analysis of text made by a computer that literally counts the words, and dictionary-based because we build dictionaries made of words that are linked to economic sustainability, social sustainability, environmental sustainability, and sustainability in general. So we count every time each of the words in our dictionary appears in each of the dossier. We follow 2 different paths in the construction of the dictionaries. One that we call quantitative one, and the other is a little bit more qualitative. The quantitative approach consists in an analysis of the frequency of the words in each dossier and the creation of a single dictionary of words that are of the words that are more frequent in the explanation of the 17 sustainable development goals. Okay, we just got the 17 sustainable development goals, analyzed the most frequent words, and checked and built a dictionary over these more frequent words. For what concerns the qualitative approach, we analyzed the explanation of the 17 development goals and extract from them 4 groups of words. This means that we read the 17 development goals and we just selected the words, even though they are not the most frequent. Okay. Each of the dictionaries coming up from the qualitative approach are refer either to one of the 3 pillars or to sustainability in general. These are the 17 development goals, but yeah, I think that more or less everyone knows what they are here. In considering frequencies, the analysis of the words clearly is carried out without considering stop words, new line, punctuation, numbers, etc. This has been a great part of the work because mainly with the non-encoded PDF, it was really a mess, and we have to check, various times that we consider all the potential errors. Because if you are like a new line, the word is broken, and you cannot count it properly, so you have to check if the new line is considered in the right way. But yeah. In both approaches, we also consider bigrams, so not only a word, but also like combination of 2 words that are more frequent, that frequently come together, like lungo termine, long term, for example. And and then we build some indices over this text analysis dictionary-based approach. Each indices measure the relative frequency of words in the dossier of the city, C, for example, that are part of a certain dictionary D. So it's IDC, for example. These are used for the qualitative approach, and as you can see, we also divide the number of the time of the word from dictionary D appears in the dossier C, the dossier of the city C, by the number of the words in the dossier of the city C, and by the number of the length of the dictionary D, so that we can also compare the dictionary index one with the other. Okay. For the quantitative approach, we just divided the number of the words that appears by, I'm not sure why. Okay. Well, and the number of the words from dictionary D that appears in the dossier of the CTC by the number of the words that appears in the words of the dossier of the CTC, so that we can compare the cities one with the other. Okay, so we end up with 4 different indices. These are 5 indices. Pardon. These are the indices computed for the 6 cities, and yeah, let's just focus on what are the best performant cities for each indices. As you can see, we have that for what concerns the social sustainability in the qualitative approach, the city that under index is Lecce. So it's mainly focused. The program is mainly focused on how to help people. Okay. About the ecological sustainability, the city that performed better is Cagliari, and indeed, checking for the content of the program, they care a lot about environment in what they write in the program, also for what concerns the events. And then, for what concerns economic sustainability, the best performer is Matera, and the same is for the generic sustainability made in the qualitative approach. While if you consider the quantitative approach, it is based only on frequency, the best performer is Siena. So if we get back to our hypothesis, it seems that it may be that the choice of the European capital of culture is based on economic sustainability or sustainability in general. Mainly, it seems that these two are the best indices for Matera. This is the one they want. We have also some. This is what I just said, but maybe it's more visually enjoyable. Let's say it's almost twice Cagliari, for example, for what concerns social sustainability. And in fact, indeed, Cagliari is more focused on ecological sustainability, so on the environment, and Ravenna as well. And about economic sustainability, as I said, Matera is on top, and the same is for, this is a comparison, okay? And same is for the general sustainability measured with the qualitative approach. While considering the quantitative approach, Siena is on the top. This may be driven by the fact that Siena was one of the badly encoded PDF, so it's the indices is built after the OCR, so the computer read the PDF and made a encoded PDF version, and so this may be a problem for this index in particular. So what we did, we built a series of indices to measure the sustainability, the importance given by each candidate Italian city to become a European capital of culture, to each of the pillars of the sustainability in general and to sustainability in general. And we used two approaches. One is more qualitative and another is more quantitative. And the results suggest the most important pillars of sustainability in the evaluation made by the committee is the economic sustainability one, as well as a measure to attention to sustainability in general. And yeah, that's it. I think we want, next step will be to use the English version of the programs, for the next years, because it was really hard to get the Italian version for Italy, so I don't think we can manage to get the English version for Italy, and so that we create some kind of general index that can be applied year by year to the various cities that produce the dossier as a shortlisted cities for this program. Okay, thank you.
Okay, good morning. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, thanks. Okay, so thank you very much for the invitation, and thanks to Francesco and all the authors of this paper. I'm very happy because it makes me closer to economists and other colleagues who works with numbers, and it's important for me because I strongly believe in interdisciplinarity. I'm a sociologist, so I'm happy to be here. So the study is, I just saw the PowerPoint, as you have seen, so but was very interesting for me the idea that the results, as you just mentioned, suggest that the most important pillar of sustainability in the evaluation is the economic sustainability together with the measure of attention to sustainability in general. So to me it's important because in this case you are going to measure sustainability. And both terms I think that you have to consider wider. Factors, indicators, parameters to analyze the number in order of measuring, and sustainability. There are different concepts of sustainability, as you just mentioned. So I think that the assumption was a very good one, because the idea was, as you say, the promise of. So it's, there are expectations, there are aspirations, and I think in this case, as a sociologist, I was thinking to the capacity to aspire, talking about culture. Arjuna Padurai, the anthropologist, wrote a lot about this capacity to aspire that is related with culture, and is important because it feeds individual life to have aspiration, but also it feeds democracy, welfare state, which means going beyond the practical issues like eating or just waiting to arrive to tomorrow. So this idea of the promise. Then I think it's very important, this kind of analysis, because it fits being a sociologist with the idea of the social construction of reality. Berger and Luckman wrote this book, 1969, on the social construction of reality, and I think that this is important because this is not just storytelling or just rhetorics, but this is what informs practices and politics. So I think that in this case the narrative is very important because this is what is behind the practices and the politics that you go to implement. And we do this, I think, also when we design a project, right? I mean, we suppose what the commission, the evaluators have in mind. I mean, using a European project, we think about what kind of keywords, ideas, what is the vision of the world, of the people who will evaluate it, what are the stereotypes, and this is the same. I mean, if you are looking for a private sponsor, if you are a politician looking for voters, or I mean, even if you are like an asylum seekers, I work with this topic, and you have to convince the committee in front of you through your words about your story that you deserve something. So I think it's interesting, this idea. Then it fit with the program. I mean, it was, the initiative was developed in 1985, so it means that in these 30 and more years, did a lot in order to highlight the richness and diversity of cultures in Europe, to increase European citizens' sense of belonging to a common cultural area, and to contribute also to the development of cities. Tourism is an aspect of that, of course. So, when you analyze the result, you say, is the economic aspect as the most important? I think that this is also one of the main hypotheses usually, because yes, you have to compare Matera with Ravenna, Perugia, Lecce, Cagliari, but I mean, from my personal perspective, I don't think that Matera is Milano compared with Perugia, Ravenna or Cagliari. So I'm not really sure that it's just the economic aspect that is not related just with the specific city. But I think that the different concepts of sustainability are strictly connected. I mean, they have to be. And in a way, I think that the analysis that you just show highlight that there are different kind of concepts of sustainabilities and that these concepts are connected. So it would be interesting, for example, to know did you analyze other previous competition to evaluate the same topic? Because, I mean, is this like the first study? Or, because I was thinking like if you see also there are evaluation reports. I saw, for example, one of the last in 2017. It was Arus and Cipro and other places. And so it's interesting because then if you see the evaluation report, then maybe you can compare what were the promises and then what happened after. I mean, when you evaluate the program of the whole year. So I think this is interesting because it's also necessary to consider the wider policy and academic debate around the role of culture and culture-based development in cities. I mean, I think about Richard Florida and the creative class, and then you see that through culture, through creativity, then, I mean, high-skilled people with capital go in this culture, and then there is also a sort of economic development, and so there is a sort of circle. And I'm thinking about, I mean, talking here in Bologna, a program like Culturability by Unipol, or even, I don't know, Incredible by the municipality of Bologna, where the idea is like culture at the center, but culture is the driver of the economic development in the city. So, just to finish, I was thinking that Aarhus in Denmark, that was capital of culture in 2017, it is always quoted as for the core values like sustainability, diversity and democracy that were at the base of the proposal, and the evaluation report show, I mean, the statistics, Denmark, the data show that Aarhus has brought positive economic benefits to the culture and creative sector and to the wider economy. So my suggestion is to evaluate if the high expectations of Matera then will bring high frustration, as usually happen. I mean, you can even think about an evaluation methodology on the potential gap between the narratives, I mean the rhetorics, and the practices and the results. Thanks.
Okay, I left my paper on the desk, but I will try to go by memory. Oh. Okay, about other competition with the same topics, there is another paper for 2018 that did something like what we did, but just in a very milder way, about one of the Baltic countries, I don't remember what, and they just analyzed the 3 different pillars, and they found that the city that won was more into economic sustainability as well, in the sense that they promised more, but there aren't still an analysis of ex post as you suggested. The issue, I think, for the ex post analysis is that you don't have like an ex post analysis of all the cities that were in the shortlist, in the sense that you can just evaluate the one that promised something and see how much of the promise they get to the end, say, but you don't know what is the standard level of promises that are respected, okay? Unless you compare it with another country in the past, but again, then you have cultural differences, and so it's not so, I don't think it's so right to compare 2 different countries without considering cultural differences. What one could do is that an ex post analysis based on the programs of these dossiers, indeed, of the Italian capital of culture, because all the 5 cities that didn't manage to become European capital of culture in 2017 or 16, I don't remember, became Italian capital of culture. So for the same year, we had 5 different Italian capital of culture. There is Ravenna, Siena, Lecce, Perugia, and Cagliari. So they indeed managed to do some of the promise, maybe that they brought on the dossier, even though the money they got from the Italian government was really less than what Matera got from the European Union. And I'm not sure how to make an ex post analysis in another way than that. I mean, in a quantitative way. But yeah, thank you. I will think about it. Thank you very much.